Hello guys, welcome to Ask Raghulan. Today we're going to see what is all this issue between Sony and Marvel. So to the history and then the timeline, let's see what happened initially and what is happening right now. And just a spoiler alert, so the deal they reached a deal yesterday, I think a couple of days before, and so Spidey's back in MCU, which is good. All right, let's get through this. So first thing is I want to introduce you to two main people of this whole thing that is happening between Marvel and Sony. So Marvel is a subsidiary of Disney Pictures, Walt Disney. All right. So the first one is Kevin Feige, and another one is Amy Pascal. So Amy Pascal, works for Disney, and Kevin works for Sony. So the whole issue, they are the centerpiece for the whole issue. So they write the agreements, they actually decide the creative inputs. They actually are the producers. So so they have a lot of things to say. So now, first thing started in 1996. We know that Marvel is a great comic magazine, and so that's pretty famous guys. We all read Marvel comics. So now in 1996. Marvel Studios were not financially doing good, so that is when they thought of selling some of these characters that they have, like the rights for them, for others to use it, and so they earn some money through that. So that's just to save them off from complete bankruptcy. So now they sold X-Men and Fantastic Four to Fox Studios, and Sony made a deal with Marvel in 1999, and they got Spider-Man. So now the deal is actually like Marvel gave this character to Sony to make motion pictures. So that means they have to make motion pictures once in every 2 years to keep the deal going on, or else the character comes back to Marvel. So that was a deal between them, and Marvel will still own rights for all the merchandise and the magazines and paperbacks, and a lot of these ones Marvel still owns it. Just the movie goes to Sony. So that was a deal that reached in 1999. So even if you look into the Fox Studio deal, there was like a whole bunch of mess that happened. So there is a separate wiki page that talks about every mess that happened during that deal. So that's when Spidey came to Sony, and Sony made a decision to start making movies in 2002, and until 2007, that's when we saw the Spider-Man 1, 2, 3 movies. So that's all done by Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire. So the combo was really good, and they made a lot of profit. So pretty much for Sony, Spider-Man was one of the cash cows. Remember, Sony is actually having other companies in their share in their sleeves as well, like hardware manufacturing, batteries, and photo cameras, and like say they got a whole bunch of other things. And so they were having some tough times during the after 2007 as well, because their laptops are not selling as high as other ones. So they had some troubles as well. So now they made 3 movies. So in 2002 they made Spider-Man 1, 2004 they made Spider-Man 2, and then 2007 Spider-Man 3. So if you look at them, the profits were really good for Sony. So now the budget was 139, they made $821 million. So that's pretty decent profit when you're talking about 2002. And if you adjust the deflation, it's more than $1 billion. So now if you look at Spider-Man 2, 200 million was a budget, and then they made 783 million. And then Spider-Man 3, 258 was a budget, and they made $890 million. So that was actually going pretty good all with. And then after 2007, Tobey had some issues. I think he was asking for more pay, and Sony was not willing to give because they were not making too much money, looks like that. So they don't want to share any cut with Tobey, and then he got loose, and so that's when this saga ends. So this was like, all these movies were really great movies, and for the time they were really fantastic movies. I really loved them. So now in 2012 they want to keep the deal going, because this is a cash cow for Sony. So if they don't make movies regularly, pretty much the Spider-Man character goes back to Marvel. So they lose the deal, they lose the character. So they don't want to do that. So that's when in 2012 they started the Amazing Spider-Man, and that's with Andrew Garfield. And he was fine, with the other characters and other movies that he has done. He's fine, but he doesn't actually keep up the tempo that Tobey has brought into the character during his era. So now, during the two films that they made, the one is the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. So the budget was around 250 for the first one, and they made around 759. The second one was 300 million, so they raised the stake on this one, and they got only 700 million. So now if you look at it, there is a whole bunch of other things that goes in there as well, not just the budget of these ones. There is marketing expenses, and so a lot of other commodities that goes in there as well. So they didn't actually make very well on these two movies. So Sony was not too happy. So they start canning the Spider-Man at this stage. And in 2015, they had a lot of meetups with Marvel Disney guys to see if they can reach a deal between them to bring in Spidey, and everyone makes money, everyone lives happily. So that's when the famous meeting happened between Amy and Kevin, and so looks like Amy got so pissed and she thrown a sandwich off Kevin. So that was in news, and a lot of gossips that goes around there. So that happened in 2015. They were not able to reach any deal. And later down the track in 2017, we all got the sweet news that Spidey is back in MCU. So that was really coolest news, that everyone was so excited. And I think even the revenue they grossed into the first film is because of the excitement. Everyone is like, Spidey is back in MCU, which is really great. And so Sony, Marvel Studios, and pretty much Disney, they all made a deal, and Spider-Man Homecoming was released, and so their budget was around 175 million, because they don't want to risk much because of the trend that was from the previous movie as well. So they made a bet of around 175 million as a budget for making the movie, and they got around 880 million. So that's pretty awesome. And then the next movie came in, The Far From Home, and which is in 2019. This is the last recent release from the Spider-Man universe, and that's around 160 million budget, and they got 1.1 billion. So they were doing extremely well with the Spidey character. So now money plays. So now that's when things got loose. Now what happened is, in August 2019, so there were a lot of talks between Disney and Sony. Disney was actually asking for 50-50. So in the terms like, they both will share 50% in the cost of production, so the Sony and Disney, and the profits will also be shared between them as 50-50 percentage. So now if you look at it, the actual deal was 30-70. So Disney get 30% and so Sony gets 70%. And Marvel has got only 5% on the first day of sales, first week of sales, and the merchandise sales on merchandise goes to Marvel. So remember, Marvel is still a separate studio, but it's a subsidy of Disney. So Disney owns Marvel. So that's when Disney said they don't want to get through this, and then let's close this off. And that's when we get all the bad news that Spidey is leaving MCU, and Sony is going to make its own film and things like that. That's because of its recent success with two of its films. One is the Venom, and the another one was the Spider-Man multiverse. So they both did extremely well, because with the budget they made, it's a very small budget, but they made decent amount of money, and it's a running success. So that is when they got the confidence that let us do it alone. But for the fans, it's like a complete bad move, because they want to see Spidey, and the chemistry between Peter Parker and Tony Stark was extremely well, and people loved it. And even the yesterday's, if you look at the updates from Tom and Robert Downey Jr., so they actually took a selfie with each other, with playing with their characters and stuff. So it was a beautiful thing for everyone to look at it. But anyway, so that's what broke Spider-Man and everyone's heart. And then again, we got a news few days ago saying that they reached a deal again. So it looks like Spidey is back into the MCU, and this time it's even better, because they're gonna make 6+1 films. That means first initially they'll make 6 films with Spidey, either as a separate version or together in the Avengers unit in the MCU universe, and there will be another 1 film that they can make as an additional one, and then Venom will be back in MCU, which is cool. And then X-Men is back, and then so is Fantastic Four. So now if you see, MCU is fully loaded, and these guys are going to be really busy. So because they got a whole bunch of films that they have to make. But remember, if you look at Kevin and Kevin, pretty much these guys have made around 23 films in total. And so I mean, the Marvel Studios, after they got into making the first successful Avengers unit, from the first Iron Mans and a lot of these ones. They made 23 different movies with opening profit of around $27 billion together. So, and then you don't want to count what happened with the Avengers Endgame. So that was the mammoth, and pretty much it beat Avatar in the box office collection. So looks like we got good news today. Hopefully we'll keep the good news as it is, and then we'll keep seeing Spidey along with the other guys. So thanks for watching, guys, and if you have any questions, just put it through. And it's just a little channel we're doing, little fun thing. So if you find anything wrong in here, just let us know. Probably we'll fix it up in the upcoming videos. Thank you so much for the love and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Cheers.